Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Igniting Change United Way Unfiltered podcast. I'm super excited to have Wendi Ames back with us this morning. She's going to be talking to us about campaign and what that means, because I think there's quite a bit of understanding about what fundraising is. But I think there's a lot of question about how it works, and there is so much intricacy in what Wendi does every day, and I'm super excited to get in there with you and talk about this. Welcome, Wendi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I think campaign is about probably 90% of what I do at United Way, and so I love it, and I'm so happy to talk to you about it.
How do you fit the other 100% of things that you do in that 10% that's left?
Magic. It's
Serious
magic.
question.
Yeah. That's my serious answer. It's magic. I think what you do is you just keep on moving, and whatever's next on the list, that's what you do. And so I think the fundraising piece is more friend-raising than it is fundraising.
Friend-raising.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what campaign season looks like. Well, first of all, what is campaign for anybody who's unfamiliar with that term? What does that mean?
Right. So I think normally when you hear the word campaign, especially in this day and age, you think like a political campaign or, that type of thing. You're like campaigning. But campaign for United Way is about raising money. It's kind of the foundation of where United Ways came from. It's about being able to go out in the community and talk to people about how families are faring in southeastern Idaho, and how we as a community member can really lift those families up by just a small donation to United Way that supports small nonprofits in our region.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I think that sums it up really nice for a general definition. And I want to ask more about, so throughout our social media posting for the year for United Way, we have lots of kind of one-off check presentation photos. We have, thank yous, golf tournaments, all kinds of things. What does it mean if you have something called a workplace campaign?
Yeah.
And that's not something an average person would know or need to know, but tell us a little bit about how that works.
Yeah. So like I said a little bit before, that's the foundation of where United Way comes from. And so a workplace campaign, specifically in the mechanics of it, is really a space where we as United Way go into a workplace and talk to them about the success stories that nonprofits have through the grants that we're able to give them, and then ask them to join us in donating a piece of their paycheck, whether that's $5 or $10 or $35 a paycheck, and really pulling that money together as a workplace and contributing back to our community.
So give us an example of one of your workplace campaigns, organizations, or companies that do this. Maybe someone from the last season of campaigning who kind of, really did it up. What does that look like?
Yeah. So I think one of the workplaces that I just am so proud of and I'm so passionate about is our Dawn plant out at Simplot. They have just been fantastic partners. We are really lucky to have such generous employees of the Dawn plant and the company really in our community. So a few years ago, when I first started with United Way back in 2017, we didn't have a great relationship with Simplot. The company did a match, and statewide, the company was really, really ingrained in United Way, but our community had a little bit of a separation, right, between, and I think it was lack of trust, but it was something that has grown in the last 5 years. And we were able to sit down with the plant manager, Trish, and say, Trish, let us tell you about United Way. Let us tell you about the families that you're helping through United Way and how those dollars are funneled back into the community. And we were sitting across the table from her, our CEO at the time, Kevin, and I could kind of see her look up, and she was like, shoot, we missed the boat on this, you guys. We need to get back into United Way. And their campaign literally went from about $60,000 with 100% match from the company to $126,000 and has stayed steady throughout the last 5 years. And so when we think about the way the economy is changing and how people are struggling to make their rent and to buy groceries and all of those things, it's hardworking people from our community that are giving that $5 and $10 a paycheck back, and then companies like Simplot that match that donation and give it to United Way, that we're able to do so much in our community with those dollars.
That's amazing, first of all.
Yeah.
I've been involved in the Simplot campaign mostly through attending the tournament, the golf tournament, and that's so much fun. Having a golf tournament that benefits United Way is such a win for us.
And serving margaritas.
And serving margaritas.
We serve margaritas at the Simplot
That's
golf
a win
tournament
for everybody.
for everyone.
Facts. Facts. And it's really cool to see everybody come together like you're describing. What would you say is the why behind it? And you mentioned the families that we serve that are working but making above the federal poverty level, but still don't make enough to make ends meet. They're making tough choices.
Right.
They're choosing between gas and prescriptions that month. Tell us a little bit about how that $5 from an employee per paycheck, what does that mean in terms of impact?
You know, I'm going to back up just a little bit with the why. I think our why starts with Alice, right? So asset limited, income constrained, but employed. And they're really the families that are working so hard but not making it. But I think sometimes with campaign, you have to go back to your own why. You know, and when I first started fundraising for United Way, I was so nervous because I'm like, I can't ask people for money.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as I started working through United Way and like writing down presentations, I'm like, okay, how am I going to present this to this company and this to that company? But it really wasn't about that. You know, so I grew up in Pocatello on the west side of town, and we always went to Ridley's, you know, to get groceries. And I remember this one time I was 8, and I was standing in line at the grocery store, and our neighbors, we knew that they had had kind of a rough life. And the mom was kind of acting all crazy, and she had some strange hat, and the kids were dirty. And, you know, we were paying with our food card when I was little, and I had a little blue ticket for lunch and all the things. And I knew we didn't have a lot, you know. And my mom kind of glanced over at the neighbor kids and she said, Wendi, I don't think those kids have a chance. And I was like, I didn't really think about it. At that point, I thought, well, why? Like, why don't they have a chance? Like, I didn't understand. You know what I mean? But as we growing up in this community and realizing now what mom meant, you know, she meant like, how do we help them? You know, and so when I'm asking for donations for United Way, it's not for me. You know, it's not for us to have a fun corner office in downtown Pocatello. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's for those families like the kids that lived on the corner. You know, how can we help those kids have a chance? And so when we go back to the reason why people donate and why people are so invested in United Way, it's because we've seen a need, right? And as like human nature, we want to help people, right? You see the little toddlers around and they just want to help, you know, and I think it's built into a lot of who we are as a community, and especially in a community like ours. And I always say that southeastern Idaho is a perfect size because it's small enough that we know people, right? You can know people, but it's big enough and has enough resources to take care of the people in our community. And I think that's just such an amazing opportunity for me as a fundraiser to say, hey, what is your passion? Let's match it to one of the amazing things our staff members do. and let's give back, and and together we can make a difference. It's inviting people in and creating a real difference in our community.
Yeah, I think that's where the fundraising comes in as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm very moved by that. I think that's amazing. And so maybe we go to part 2 of that question now. So when someone donates, let's say they're involved in one of the organizations that has a campaign for United Way.
Yeah.
When they donate in their payroll, for example, what does that, what can that do? What can those dollars do?
Oh, geez.
I know.
It's so, it's amazing, right? Because if you think of one, even $5 donation, right? So if somebody donates $5 a paycheck for 26 paychecks, what's that, like $130 or something? That $130 can be multiplied up to 4 times in an organization.
How does that work?
Because United Way is a trusted partner in the community, other organizations can leverage those dollars. And so they say, you know what? United Way trusts me. My community trusts me. I can check this box saying that I got a donation from United Way. The agencies can, and they're more likely to bring in other matching funds because their community believes in them. And so really, when you are donating just $5, that could be Meals on Wheels for one senior for a whole year. That could be school supplies. That could be utility assistance for 1 month. And like I was telling, I was at a campaign presentation with Citizens Community Bank just this morning, and we were talking about that struggle, right? Like, what do I pay? Do I pay my rent? Do I put tires on the car? And I probably pay my rent first, right? But then I pay my power to make sure I'm warm. But then what's left? It's food, right? Like a lot of times our Alice families, it's those pantries, it's the cupboards, it's the fridge that is being left empty. And that is why there are so many kids that are hungry. That's why we fund so many pantries. It's the backpack programs are so important. And if for $5 a week out of my paycheck, whether that's a trip to Gate City, I think I might spend more than that at Gate City Coffee.
It's too close to our office,
Bill,
and we love it so
we
much.
love you.
We do love you, Bill. Such
And
good
Elaine.
coffee.
But for the price of a cup of coffee, I can make sure a kid has food for the weekend. What in the world? And I think that it's such a huge impact that maybe that one bag of food is like gives them the energy to go to school, and it gives them the energy to help take care of their brothers and sisters, and a little bit goes a really long way for our community members.
And to know that they're going to eat that weekend.
Yeah.
Having a backpack of food that was given.
Yeah.
When they might not have it otherwise.
Yep.
Tell us about the percent of a donation that anyone makes. What percent goes to United Way? What percent goes right back to the nonprofits?
Yeah, so at our United Way, 100% of donations go straight back into our community that come from employees or individual donations. And I think that speaks a lot to the integrity of the way we do business. Not that other companies don't have that integrity. That's really not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we make sure and we work really hard to have our overhead costs covered by corporate gifts and grants, and so that we can guarantee that every person's donation is going back into our community and helping someone. And I think that's just... it's amazing, and not all organizations can say that. Some may not be set up that way, but we've been able to do that through relationships, and through building partnerships and through generous corporate partners that believe in the work and understand that we still got to keep the lights on.
Mm-hmm. And thinking about campaign in general, what happens to the dollars that are raised that go back to the nonprofits, and why is the money from United Way maybe different than grants?
Oh, you want to talk about superpowers?
I do.
You want to talk about United Way grants superpower? Well, that's the thing that I think is the most amazing, right? Is that United Way grants have a superpower, and that superpower is flexibility. So when you're a small nonprofit, and I didn't understand this until I started working at United Way. So when you're a small nonprofit, let's say a domestic violence shelter, for instance, if you're a small nonprofit and you're a domestic violence center, your government and state grants are only for specific things. And they're only for people that make up to a certain level of income. And they're only for Tuesday nights with 7 people that only eat squash. Like,
So red tape, restrictions.
so many restrictions, right? So United Way grants that are given through our campaign are so flexible. For example, a few years ago, the Oneida Crisis Center is a domestic violence shelter, and it's in Malad, right? So it's sitting on top of this hill. And in their community, their food bank pulled out. And they were like, what are we going to do? Like, we have a need to fill. But every one of their grants was for domestic violence. Mm. And so they said, United Way, can you help us put a food pantry in Malad? And we're like, heck yes, we can, right? Because it's that flexibility. So we were able to help them implement that food pantry in Malad that is now helping to feed that, like, on top of the mountain community, right? And now they're able to sustain that so we can help fund something else for their organization. And so it's so neat to see the power of that flexibility in the grants, so that people can, our nonprofit agencies can buy clothes for an interview. They can put gas in the car. They can put a propane tank for heating for our rural community members, right? And maybe that one propane tank of heating allows them to put money somewhere else into a car or into whatever so that they're able to get to work, right? And it's just that elevation of the flexibility that allows United Way to be in the right place at the right time with the right partners.
And keeping people in that dangerous situation of paycheck to paycheck and then one major crisis, right?
Yeah.
Keeping them financially stable. How does that help our community?
Yeah. So when our community members are financially stable, they are able to grow with our economy, right? They're able to give back. They're able to shop at small businesses. They're able to make sure their kids are at school and healthy and happy and learning. And so when we help Alice, we're building a more vibrant, beautiful economy. And really right here in southeastern Idaho, I think that's something that we also need to talk about with campaign, is that our dollars stay local. Right, so anything anyone donates to our United Way Community Fund stays within our 7 counties, and that that's like we had said before, from Shelley area up into like Power County, and then clear down into Bear Lake. And so it's really about staying local. The money stays local. 100% of their donation goes straight into those programs, and it's really making a difference, no matter how big or how small that donation is.
Awesome. What is your favorite part of your job? Wendi, what drives you? What is your favorite part of your job?
Getting to work with you every day.
Oh my God. She flatters me. She knows I need her love.
My favorite part about working United Way is that, and we've talked about this a little bit before, like within our organization, is that it's a passion job, right? It's a job that, I'm tired today, as you could probably tell, but because we are right in the middle of campaign season, and
it's busy time.
It's a super busy time, but I'm not too tired to get up to and come to work, because I know that every presentation, I know that every conversation that I have with people is making somebody's life better somewhere. And so, I guess it's kind of selfish because it fills my own cup to come to work every day. But also it's about working with an amazing team of women who do the same dang thing, right? And sometimes we're up in the break room and we're chatting and we're like, oh my gosh, this week has been exhausting, but everybody has a little bit of a sparkle in their eye, because whether it's helping kids with preschool or helping rides to healthcare providers or building the community fund so that we can fund those 26 nonprofit programs across our region, like that's making a real difference. And so that's what I love so much about United Way and about our job. Besides the fact that we don't always work on Fridays, that's nice too.
4-day work week. We just cram it all in.
We work, we work real hard during the week and try and play as much as we work. And so I think that work-life balance that we've been able to like build in most of the year has been just amazing, I think, for our team and for my bags under my eyes.
Ditto. And I think that's what she's saying is absolutely accurate. The passion, the level of passion on our team is unmatched in any experience I've had professionally. And that the point that you made about you might be tired, you might be a little bit weary physically, but you're still happy to come into work. That's how I feel. You nailed it. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what drives you, right? And yeah, it's one more email and it's, one more campaign presentation, but that's one more person that we're helping take care of in our community. And that's so freaking amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, Wendi, is there anything else that you would like our community here to know about campaign or about the work that you do that we haven't covered?
I think that we pretty much covered it. The one thing that I'm sure that you've covered, in I think a different podcast with Molly, is the community investment process. So I love to talk about how the dollars are distributed. So definitely make sure that you go to that episode and listen to how. We talked a lot today about the why, but it's really a community-driven process that builds the community fund, and it's a community-driven process that decides where those dollars go. And I think that that's an amazing thing to always remember, right? It's not, us that decide where the dollars go or what's important in the community. It's our community members. And so community-led, community-driven, and just so full of life and hope for our community.
Okay, we'll put the link to the episode with Molly and community investment in our show notes for this episode. And if someone is interested in learning more about how their organization or company can get involved, should they reach out to you? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're welcome to reach out to me directly. You can also go to our website and look at the Get Involved tab. And there are some opportunities that shows what a workplace campaign is, how to get involved. I mean, I think when you take workplace campaigns, and it's not all about donations and presentations, there's volunteering that goes into that. There's really, really fun games and auctions, and my boss will shave my head if we raise this much money, and so it's really morale boosting. And so if you want your workplace to be involved in that, or if you would like just to make a donation, that's all on our website, or you can contact me directly at United Way.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I hope you all can see and hear and feel the passion that Wendi emanates in this podcast, but every single day she comes into work and helps change lives of people right here in our community. And we are so lucky that she's at the helm in this role at United Way. So thank you so much for all the work you do, Wendi.
Thanks, Jenny. And thanks for having me, and thanks for listening. And let's go. Let's raise some money. Thanks.
Thank you all. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining us.